On. So you don't have to. All right, so we're going to start out on knees and forearms. If you don't have pads for your knees and you want them, grab some pads. Knee pads. You go outside your mat. Anyone else? You want it to go wider?
It's getting violent.
You're fine. The glass didn't break. You're good. All right, so put your pads outside the mat in case you end up being able to take your knees wider than the mat, or if you want to kneel on them, go ahead. Come down to knees and forearms, and you're going to line up with your knees. Hopefully you can get them just a little outside your mat to your pads. If you're at home with carpet, you don't need them. Okay, and then you're going to bring your elbows forward, so you've got about 2.5 to 3 feet between knees and elbows. It's a pretty long stance. Your hips are going to start back behind your knees a little bit. And I want the whole top of your foot to try to be flat. You're trying to put the top of the ankle down. And from the big toe all the way up to the knee, I want you to try to keep that softly pressing into the ground. Heels are a little outside the toes. Toes are toward each other. They're in right now today. So this is the opposite. We're not doing frog where your feet turn out like this. Okay, the feet are actually the other way. They're in, heels out. Okay, that's going to help stretch the outer hip, IT down a little bit. Sit back a touch, not too far, and then press the whole shin down into the mat. You're purposely trying to engage your quadriceps, the muscles in the top of the leg shortening. Then pick up your low belly. That'll help you pick up your pelvic bowl. Do not squeeze glutes and sitting bones at the base of the buttocks together. They should go apart. So knees pull the mat apart here. Low belly lifts up away from that. Those don't seem like they go together. That's good. That's what opposition is. Things going apart. Okay? Keep that pressure from the top of the feet. Keep that lift in your low belly. Inhale, drop the head and neck. Exhale, push into your elbows more, trying to lift your rib cage up inside the shoulder girdle. So your back is domed. Okay, start sitting back slowly like that into a very wide leg hero's pose. It's kind of a hero's pose meets a frog. Keep the low belly hollowed out. Keep soft pressure in the top of the feet. When you get back as far as you can to start out, go ahead and put your forehead down. Let your neck and head release. Try to let all the facial muscles release. No clenching your jaw for right now. Happy start to your practice. Inhale long and soft. Hold the air in once you get it. Press into the tops of the feet, shins, ankles a little bit to engage quads. Hips will rise 2 inches or so. Pick your low belly up higher. Now unshrug the shoulders, widen your shoulders, chin up into your own throat. You'll roll a little more to the top of the head toward the hairline. And then let that go. Sit all the way back. Try to deepen your stretch. How far back can your hips sit? You can bring your forehead back a little bit on the mat and try to push the mat forward with your head. A little puppy using his nose to push something forward. Push your hips further back. And then press into the tops of the feet one more time. Hips will rise 2-3 inches, maybe even 6 inches. Keep the head down. Don't shrug shoulders. Lift your low belly up. That's all internal. Try to find those low belly muscles. Knees are still pulling the mat apart though. Inhale. Exhale, sit back deeper. Just try to turn on the hips a little bit. Warm them up. Okay, now you're going to come up. Bring your head up. Neck in line with the spine, not back of the head to the ceiling. Push into the tops of the feet. Shins and ankles come forward. Now go very forward. Okay, so now you got all your weight in your upper body. Trying to engage everything piece by piece. Little pressure on tops of the feet still. Heels back, heels out. Trying to keep tops of the feet down. So think of making a circle with your from knees to lower legs. Push your elbows and shoulder blade. Try that again. Push your forearms, elbows all the way down to hands to pick ribs up in the shoulder girdle. Suck the belly up higher. Open the muscles in the upper back. Let the head drop though. Keeping the pressure in your elbows, pull the mat apart with your elbows to try to engage the serratus, those little finger-like muscles running along the ribs even more. Keeping that pressure, inhale, let your back muscles open, back of the ribs open. Exhale, lift low belly, push into the tops of the feet, push into hands, elbows, forearms, everything's engaged softly. And then just unround from the low body. You're going to think of taking pubic bone back, lumbar spine flattening. Keep low belly engaged though. Then drop chest all the way down into shoulder girdle. Keep the ribs forward, don't sit back. Do it again. Pressure in tops of the feet, lift low belly. Then pressure into elbows. Pick your ribs up higher. Suck those middle abs, transverse abs between rib cage and pelvis. Suck those up. Knees pull wide. Tops of feet flatten, ankles flatten into the floor. Elbows pull wide. Keep shifting your weight forward, keep shifting your weight forward until shoulders are past the elbows. Use your chest too. I want you to feel those two thumb knuckles in the base of the hand from nearest the wrist. Push down. Pull in with hands to engage your pecs a little bit. Kick your ribs up higher. Still engaged. All right, now unround. Pubic bone goes back. Belly starts dropping, ribs drop all the way down. Now sit back like that. Think of trying to scrape your chest on the mat. Scrape the belly on the mat. How far back can you sit here? Within reason, don't hurt yourself. Breathe. Exhale long and even. Okay, bring your head up. Push through the tops of the feet. Come on forward. Come forward as far as you can, letting your hips drop toward the mat. So really coming forward, lean into elbows. You may need a longer stance. So it's frog, but it's a nicer frog. Usually we're out here, sitting back deeper. Now you're trying to think of making that sort of triangle with the feet, but heels back, toes in, hips dropping toward the mat. Keep the pressure in the upper body. If you feel anything in your low back, no, wrong. Need to adjust. Need a little pad under the belly. Need a ball under the belly or something. Okay, go ahead and pick it up. Sit down. All the way back last time. And then bring your hands and elbows back next to you. Bring your upper body up. Open your feet wide enough so that if your hips can sit down between them, there's room. You're not going to sit on top of your feet. You're going to open the feet a little. Okay, keeping elbows in the mat pretty close to you. Hands flat. Think of pressing the mat forward. Suck the belly back, your spinal round. Knees want to pull in a little. Try not to let them pull in too much. Keep your toes aimed in and your heels out. Drop your head. Breathe. As you exhale, suck the low belly up out of the front of the pelvic bowl. Keep pressure in elbows, opening the back. And then go the other way. Start flattening the spine. Pull back on the mat with your forearms enough that your hips get light and they even lift up a little bit. You're trying to flatten the spine here. Okay. Then push through the elbow tips. Pick up your middle abs to round. Drop the head, little cat-cow. No squeezing glutes, and then roll the pubic bone back. Unround low body first. Then start sitting back like that. How far back can you sit? Shift your hips and groin. A whole lot of other stuff too. Okay, shift your body forward again, elbows pulling back. Stay flat. You're going to feel weight in your upper body. Let your shoulders come toward your hands. That's a good amount of work in the upper body. Good. Then push through the elbow tips, not so much hands. Pick up the middle abs. Drop head, drop tail. Inhale. Knees are still pulling the mat apart. Now unround from low body first. Pubic bone back. Lumbar spine flattening. Low belly still engaged. And then sit back like that. Should be feeling a stretch. Alright. Go ahead and bring it up. If your hips can sit flat here, great. Fine. You're good. If not, you need to sit on a block. So your sitting bones have to touch the ground firmly. Not just, you can kind of feel the floor. Okay? So here's what it looks like if you do need to sit on blocks. You're going to grab all three of your blocks. If you do have the big blue blocks, that's not what we're using for this. You'll sit on whatever size block you need. So the purple block is 3 inches. That may be what you need. You may have to sit on the blue block. That's a lot bigger. And then your cork blocks, I'll just throw them at you. Go behind you. And warm up shoulders and hips at the same time. Okay, so if you're sitting on a block, you need a block under the hands too. You can use this one. I know. Literally, trying to walk you. You're good. Here, you can sit on cork and use cork for your hands. Alright, so if you have your blocks, you're sitting on one, then you have one for your hands too. Bring hands back behind you. If you're not sitting on a block, you don't need blocks for your hands. So if you elevate the floor where you're sitting, you elevate the floor for the hands. Elevating the floor where you're sitting lessens this stretch bit, right? Okay, now, tailbone. Everybody, pick up your hips, bring your tail under. That comes from low belly, not squeezing glutes and pushing forward. It's more low belly pulls pelvic bowl back, push into hands, and bring tail under. So your low back should be rounded. Definitely not arched. You should not feel any of this in your low back. Okay? Hands are back far enough and about as wide as the mat so that you can roll the shoulders forward and bend elbows back. And your elbows don't do this. There should not be elbows way behind hands. There's nothing good about this. You have no support back there. So your hands are back far enough. Now the farther they go back, the bigger the shoulder stretch. But if they're not back far enough, you're just not in the right alignment to feel any of what's going on. Hands have to be back far enough so your back can round as shoulders come forward and your upper back tries to round right here between the hands and the point of contact with the mat with the hips. The more you let the ribs draw back, the shoulders can roll forward further, and the deeper the hip stretch gets. So if your hips are holding up here, that's not going to work. You're fighting yourself here in the stretch. You probably need to be a little higher in your blocks. Shoulders rolling forward, chin in, low belly sucking back out of the hips. You should feel two stretches. Both hips, well, maybe knees too, but definitely shoulders and hips. If you're not feeling the hips, you're arching your low back, and that's bad. Okay, start your breath here, inhaling. Think of your toes curling in toward your body and your heels rolling out to the sides. Okay, so instead of toes out, heels in, think of toes in, heels out. That outer roll in this foot will help open up the lower leg, and I see that more. I see that up here. Okay, now stay back this far. Roll the shoulders back. Think of your hands as pulling the mat forward. Really spread fingers out. Suck the low belly back. You should feel a bigger hip stretch. Keep your ribs out far back. Roll the shoulders up and forward, and then they feel like they almost come back down with elbows wide. Do it again. Roll the shoulders back. Top of the head still forward, leaning back. Low belly sucking back. It should increase hip stretch. Then roll your shoulders all the way forward. One more time. Roll them up and back. Low belly sucking back. And then roll them forward. Now lean over to your right hand. Really spread those fingers out. No bubbling knuckles. Keeping the fingers spread, elbow wide, shoulder forward, left knee softly reaches away. Do not engage your left glute, let that go. Feel your low belly sink out of the front of that left hip. Roll your left shoulder head forward and keep leaning right elbow out to the right. You should feel a stretch in front of left hip and in the right shoulder, diagonally across the core. Come through center, ribs stay low, shoulders stay forward, low belly stays back. Go all the way to the left arm. Right shoulder rolls forward, so it's almost a twist, or it is a twist. Your right ribs close softly, your left ribs open softly. Low belly sucking out of the front of that right hip. Breathe. As you exhale, think of hands being strong, shoulders forward, low belly sinking out of the hip. Come back through center. Last one. How are we doing? Who's alive? Good. Elbow wide, left shoulder forward, low belly sinking. Breathe. Inhale. Chin in, neck is long. Don't sit in your neck. Go back through center and end on the left side. Bring your right arm across. The hand touches the outer thigh. The elbow bends forward to spread that shoulder blade forward off your back. We're going to roll the back shoulder back and almost in, like your shoulder blade's coming into the back of the rib cage. Suck the belly back, then bring the top of the head forward to me. So you're trying to round the spine. Breathe. As you exhale, keep pressure on the hand that's in the back. That thumb, those two base thumb knuckles should really feel some pressure on them. Release your right glute. It doesn't get to come with you. And then roll the shoulder forward to face the parking lot. Okay, do it again. Let's just move through two. Roll the left shoulder up, back, and then into the back of the ribs. Right elbow, right shoulder open. Top of head forward. And roll back out of it. One more time. Roll that shoulder up, back, twisting in the core. Suck the belly back softly. Release your back muscles. And then roll it forward. Right hand out to the right. Lean into that right hand, come across to it, bring your left arm across. Good. Make sure your back is not arched here. That back has to drop back. So maybe your hand needs to be higher. Maybe you need blocks under the hand more. Bring your left elbow wide. Start twisting by rolling your right shoulder up. That brings the rib cage open, shoulder blade up the right side. Then roll it back. At the same time, top of the head forward, chin up into your own throat. Top of the head feels like it's going to the ground. Left elbow wide to open left shoulder blade more. Both elbows pulling apart, belly sucking back in between. Find your breath. Notice if your left glute is flexed, trying to bring the left frontal hip with the ribs. Don't let that happen. If anything, your left hip tries to drop back. And then roll back to face the parking lot. Trust that right hand. You've got to be able to lean into it. Spread the fingers. Do it again. Roll the right shoulder up to open right ribs, then back. Press into the inside of the hand, the thumb knuckles. Shoulder rolling back. You can even let yourself sit into the shoulder blade a little bit. Let that shoulder blade slide up the ribs to let ribs open more. Head forward, breathe. And push down through the hand, pick the shoulder up. Do that again. Let the shoulder blade slide up the ribs. And then push down, bring it down. So you're trying to move that shoulder blade on the rib cage. Alright, and then roll out of the stretch. Good. Come on forward. Sitting bones back. How are we doing on the knees? Ready to get out of it? A little bit. Okay, bring your hands out in front. Spread the fingers, turn your hands sideways so fingers are pointed to the sides of the mat for the most part. Then inner spiral your arms, bend your elbows out to the sides. Pick up low belly, sitting bones under, top of the head forward. So you're pulling the core apart. And then drop it back forward. Elbows pull in so you can pull back on the mat and lift up and come forward. Okay, stay there. Bring your elbows out to the sides. You should start to feel a stretch in the hands and wrists. Press into the arms to straighten. Pick your ribs up higher into the shoulder girdle. So spread the shoulder blades off the back. Suck your low belly up. Press down soft into the top of the feet. Lift up higher. You're going to really lighten your knees. Okay? And then let that go. Let your hips reach back. Sitting bones apart. Knees pull the mat open. Belly drops in. Chest drops into shoulder girdle. Inner spiral arms again. That means biceps face in. That also starts picking your shoulder blades up the sides of the ribs a little. Okay? Start by lifting low belly. Push into the tops of the feet. Your pelvic bowl will lift. Then push through hands. Pick ribs way up inside the shoulder girdle. Keep the head drop. Chin in. Breathe. Keep the inner spiral in your arms. Okay. And then unround the hips first. Keep it going back. Belly still engaged. Drop chest into shoulder girdle. Good. This time we do the same thing. Push into the tops of the feet. Suck the belly up. Pick the ribs up. Spread shoulders. Can you go a little further? Can you push into the tops of the feet until you pick your knees up? Quads engaging. Put them back down. Unround. Go back into your cat-cow shape here. Bring it back up. Push into the tops of the feet. Suck low belly up. No glutes. Squeeze. Pick ribs up. Pick it up. Good. And bring it back down. Unround. Good. Bring the knees back in. How are we doing? Tuck the toes. Okay. Keeping your toes tucked. Without letting them slide back on the mat, let your knees or walk your knees back. You're trying to get more of the toes tucked under. So you're not pushing the mat back and letting them slide. You're trying to get more and more of that foot tucked under. And then sit back on your heels, maybe softly, especially if your feet are real tight. And use your hands to push you there a little. And then this time, open your heels out to the sides. Come to the pinky side of the foot, purposely. Make sure your pinky's under you. Don't let it be turned under. Okay? You should be starting to feel the outer lower leg a little. At the same time, sitting bones open, coming apart here. Okay, then pull the heels back in, just enough so you can sit on the shins, or sit on the lower leg and the heels. Stay sitting on your heels. Let's add hands. Turn the hands backward. Good. Hands are wider than the knees, about as wide as the mat. Try to bring the base of the hand even wider so your biceps start facing out. Put a soft bend in the elbows. Go ahead and drop chest into shoulder girdle. Slide the shoulder blades together. Top of the head reaching forward. Think of your chin coming a little up into your own throat. I would say giving yourself a double chin, but that implies a lot more stress than I want you to feel. Okay, press into the knuckles of your hands. Press into the tops of the feet. Lift the hips an inch or two. Just a little bit. Once the hips are up there, let your glutes go. Sit back. There we go. Now, lift your low belly without squeezing the glutes. No legs. Keep the low belly lifting to lift pelvic bowl up. Then push your hands to pick ribs up into shoulder girdle, rounding deep. Drop the head. Go ahead and start sitting back on the heels in this shape. Notice when you sit down where your glutes flex. Let them go. Then go ahead and unround. Pubic bone sliding back. Belly coming forward. Chest drops deep into shoulder girdle. Shoulder blades come together. Okay, try it again, same way. Push into the tops of the, or push into the feet. Use your quads to pick up. No glutes. Pick your low belly up now. Heels apart a little bit to help try to disengage outer hip. Keep sucking the belly up. Spread your shoulder blades. Push through hands. Really going in the back. Drop the head. Okay, bring your heels in just a little. Just enough to have something to sit on. Come back, sit down. Let your glutes release. Sitting bones back. Pubic bone back. Unround the spine. Shoulder blades together. Good. Now stay sitting on your heels. Push through hands to pick ribs up into shoulder girdle. Lift low belly, but stay sitting. Don't let your glutes help. Keep your core engaged. Roll back through the right hand. So your core is keeping this shape in the spine. It's not your back muscles. Roll back down. Roll back through your left hand. Knuckles bend in. Stretch the hand, wrist, forearm. Roll back down. Your core is engaged. Your hips are not. No glute squeeze. Open heels a little if you need to. Roll back through the right hand. Pull. Your shoulder should be loose so elbow can swing. Let's bring elbow out to the right. Feel that right index knuckle come more to the mat. Right metacarpal in the hand. Then swing the elbow in to the left. Pinky knuckle coming more into the mat. Come back to the center, roll it down. Left side, let's disengage core for a minute. Let your belly hang, ribs hang, shoulders come together, drop the head. Pick it back up, push through hands and knuckles. A little bend in your elbows will keep you toward the knuckles of the hands instead of the wrist. Roll the left hand back, bending at the knuckles. Bring your elbow out to the side, away from the body, to feel that index knuckle more to the mat. Then bring it back in. Think of those metacarpals, little bones in the hands fanning back and forth like you're fanning out cars or something. Roll out and then back in. Good. Keep the core engaged. Roll the right hand back. Slide forward. Just fingers bending back now. Just the hand stretch way out in front of you. You'll have to disengage core a little bit. Roll as far forward as you can. By no means you have to put the hand down. Then pull core back a little to roll back through the hand. Come all the way back. Put your knuckles into the mat. Don't curl the fingers in. Keep them flat. Other hand, roll back. Slide it forward. Let it roll down. You have to disengage core a little bit. Suck the core back first. Roll back. And come to knuckles in the hand. Good. Foot release in the form of foot strengthening. Come out of the stretch and into some work. How we doing? All right. Working. Okay. Tent your fingers. Pull up. Like you're pulling up into the palm with the hands. Bring your elbows inside the knees. The knees open. Try to make your body into a little ball that fits inside your legs. Drop your head. Your wrists will bend like they're going to the ceiling. Your elbows try to reach to the floor. It's a super funny shape. Like a bug or something. Heels high, heels a little open right now. I want you to feel the pinky side of the foot helping you keep your balance here. Okay? And then go ahead and suck your low belly back. Try to bring heels down slowly. You got to keep your body over the toes so your body is forward as heels try to reach down to the mat. And then bring it back up. Good. Try to keep your weight in your feet. Do it again. Bring your heels down slowly. Pinky side of the foot working too. Maybe I'll go lower since we're in the outer foot instead of the inner foot today. Bring it back up. Good. Let's make this harder. Flatten out your hands. Bring your hands out a little further in front of you. And then you're going to walk the hands forward as far as you need to bring your elbows to hover over the ground. They do not get to touch down. So you may start shaking right away, regardless of whether or not you want to, your triceps are engaged. Because that's what straightens your arm. That's the back of the upper arm, right? Try to disengage some of the other stuff in the shoulders that does not need the help. So pull your shoulders away from your ears, feel your serratus. Bring your knees to your armpits or to the outer arm. And then try to slide the knees down to your elbows. Elbows and knees have to touch, so bring your hands back a little bit. No, you got it. You haven't touched it. Knees hug in on elbows. Elbows pull out against knees. Pick your ribs up into the shoulder girdle. And then drop chest back down, shoulder blades together. A lot of coordination here. Pick your ribs up into the shoulder girdle. Good. Let the shoulder blades come together on the back. Ribs drop down. Last one. Pick your ribs up. Suck the belly up. Drop it back down. Slide the knees up your armpits. Walk your hands back a little. Go ahead and let your heels drop. Reach your hands as far in front of you as you need to counterbalance, letting your hips hang back. If your heels can't go flat, that's okay. Drop the head and neck. Open the knees. Lift your low belly and breathe. Good. And bring it back up. Knees come in. Sorry for that balance here. If your feet are done at any point, bring your knees down and just sit on the tops of the feet. Okay, if you're still with me. You're going to have the inner feet trying to touch, knees hug in, but I want your heels to open just a little bit. Sitting bones sitting on your heels if your hips are open enough to let that happen. If not, sit into your hip stretch. It's a little less stable. Lift your low belly. Try to come to one or two fingers in each hand. Keep your weight forward. If you lean back, there's nothing to stop you from falling. If you lean forward, the toes stop you, the feet work. That's what we want. So keep your weight forward, then your belly can suck back. Find the happy medium between those. And maybe you can bring your hands into prayer. Then keep core lifting in and up, not your back pulling, that'll make you fall. Keep core lifting inside pelvic bowl. Elbows wide, neck long. Breathe. Bring your hands back down to the mat. See if you can push into the feet, bring the hips up a little bit. Really think about quads engaging. You can tip forward and put some weight in hands, hips up. And then come all the way up. It should feel pretty good to straighten the legs. Keep those heels high. Heels high. Good. You can bend the knees as much as you need to. Roll to the outside of the foot. Pinky side of the foot. Yep. Super odd. I know. What do we do if it's not? Bring it back in. Drop just one heel to the ground. Right heel to the right foot first. Roll to your outer right foot while it's down. Let that right hip drop back. Drop the head and neck. Good. You should feel if you roll to the outer foot and keep your knee just short of locking. You can straighten it, but don't lock it. You should start to feel that stretch coming up the outer leg. Okay, bring that foot back up high on your toes. Switch, bring your left foot down. Roll to the outer foot a little bit. Keep the knee unlocked. Drop your left hip further back behind the heel. You should feel that stretch coming up the outer leg, up the IT there. Good, and switch. Right foot down, roll to outer foot, unlock knee, drop the hip back. So if you have real open hamstrings and you can lock the knee, you'll actually lose your IT stretch. Keep it a little bent. So you want to feel this all the way up, outer hip, outer leg, hip dropping back. And then bring it down. I think you started that one. Do one more. Right heel up, left outer foot into the mat, drop the hip back, keep the knee a little bent. Okay, bring both your feet down. Heel toe your feet about 2 inches apart, literally. And your heels are going to be about 2.5, 3 inches apart. So you're slightly pigeon-toed. If you're feeling like you have a huge stretch in your hamstrings, get some blocks to put under your hands right now. And if you feel like your hands are done tenting and your hands don't want to work that hard, get 2 blocks if you need to, and flatten out the hands. Okay? If you're still with the tent, fine. If you want to go flat into the ground and you've got a deep hamstring stretch, that's fine too. Wherever you're at, stay in your forward bend. Put a little bend in your knees. Even if you can fully straighten, put a little bend. Roll to the outer feet. Now if you have a huge bend in your knees, try to straighten a little bit more. You may need blocks to get there. Roll to the outer feet enough. Don't pick up your big toes. Keep the big toes down into the mat like your toes are grabbing the mat. Okay? And start sitting your hips back further behind your heels. How far back can your hips go? Let your head drop. You should be starting to feel that stretch in your outer leg. Put the big toe down. Suck the low belly back. Good. Start straightening the right leg a little bit more. Right hip goes further back. Good. Switch. Start straightening your left leg a little more. Left hip dropping further back. Feel your left low belly. Come back to the middle. Good. Go ahead and bend your knees. Drop your hips down like you're going to go in your chair pose. Tops of the legs are trying to be parallel to the floor. Bring your arms straight back. Shoulders roll back, but ribs stay resting on your thighs. Try to connect those. Open knees a little bit. Roll a teeny bit to your outer feet. Not as much as we have been. Sweep hands forward. Hips back, chin in. Sit your hips down lower. Lift your low belly. Lift your ribs off the thighs now. Drop hands a little down. Shoulders back, away from the ears. Top of the head forward. So hands coming down diagonally forward helps you find serratus more. Lengthens your neck. Good. Now sweep hands back. Hips up. Chest down. Head down. Breathe. Find a release here. Should be easy after that much engagement. See if you can interlace fingers up there. Now don't squeeze palms all the way together. Keep your fingers squeezing into each other, but then pull the wrists apart. So you've got one straight line from wrist to your hands, and drop your hands back over your head. Keep that little bend in your knee.
What should you do with your shoulders first? Yeah, I always get stuck.
Let them roll forward right now. Let them roll forward.
There.
Yep, but let your head
And
drop.
then
Yep, now let your head drop. Good. So your shoulder blades will roll forward, just like when we were doing that shoulder stretch earlier. Now pick up the back of the head. It actually feels a little bit like you're crunching that. Then let the back of the head go. Lift hands to the ceiling, shoulders roll up. Now your neck gets real long. Good. And then bring the body up, flat back, bend the knees, stand all the way up. Actually feels good just to stand that. Inhale, arms up. Slide your shoulder blades up your sides, but then shin down, neck long. Bring your hands down into prayer, opening elbows wide, spreading all the fingers apart. Feel the 2 thumb knuckles press into each other and your elbows come forward so you can pull your ribs back, neck long. Baby bend in the knees. Roll to your inner feet now, lift your outer feet. Feel like you're pulling the mat apart. Let your sitting bones release. Open your knees, staying in your inner feet. Super odd. Now roll to your outer feet. Keep the big toe down, lift the inner feet. Good. Find a medium between those. Okay. And then sitting bones start reaching back. Chest coming forward. Elbows are still oddly forward in your prayer. Good. See if you can bring your prayer in front of the shins, dropping the thighs, or dropping the ribs to the thighs, and then drop your head. Keep your forearms pulling back to bring the shoulder blades back. Shins pulling, or forearms pulling shins back, hips back, top of the head forward. Breathe. So elbows back now. So look up here from the chair.
Huh?
You're still here.
Okay.
I want that to happen. There you go. Feel along the neck back. Draw the straightest engaged. Good. All right, go ahead and bring your hands to the floor. Good job, guys. We're going to try a twist here. If you know you're tight in your hips, you can drop the right knee forward and bring your right elbow inside the right knee and into prayer to twist. If you want to go deeper than that, bring right elbow to left knee, hands in prayer, and twist there. Okay? Let's try to stagger. Go ahead and drop the left hip further back. Left leg will straighten a little bit as you twist. Keep pressing left hand into right to twist deeper. Then bend your left knee forward. Drop the right hip further back. Keep the left elbow on the knee. Don't switch legs. This is just moving through hips. Good. Bring the right knee forward again. Keeping that right elbow on left knee. Drop your left hip further back. Chin in, neck long. Good. Bend the left knee again, keeping the right elbow there. Drop the right hip further back. So now your low body is dropping away from upper body in the twist. Go the other way. Left knee going back. The upper body gets to open more. And bring it back to the middle. Inhale up. How we doing? Working?
Tired.
Okay. Bring it down. Right elbow to the left knee, left elbow to the right knee. Or if you know you're tighter, you can bring left elbow to the inside of left knee. Either way. Okay? Drop the right hip back. Push right hand into that left hand to open your right ribs and twist. Then go the other way. Drop your left hip further back. That means your left shoulder has to be able to slide up the ribs to let you twist. Switch. Right hip dropping back. Right hand pushes into left. Open the right ribs. Think right elbow up and forward. Right shoulder comes a little up and forward. Switch. As your left hip drops back, your left shoulder comes forward to your ear a little. So let the serratus open. Shoulder forward, not back. Left shoulder forward. There we go. And bring it back to the middle. Inhale up. Reach. Tailbone under by lifting low belly, not by squeezing glutes, and hands down into prayer. Good. One more time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, drop your hands back behind the neck toward the thoracic spine. Elbows are still in and forward. As you come down, think of your low belly pulling hips back behind your heels. You can roll the outer feet and unlock knees to deepen the stretch. Keep ribs coming forward and down. Come all the way to your forward bend here. And then feel your forearms. Pull your head back toward your legs a little bit. Breathe. If you're used to locking your knees, don't. If you can't get your legs very straight, try. Bring your hands down. Good job. Walk your hands forward toward a down dog, but shorter. And then you can either hop or heel toe, feet wide onto the wood. Heels wider than toes. So you're pretty long here. Yep, good. Your feet have to go flat. So if they don't, get some blocks under your hands. Okay? Then you're going to shift your body weight forward into your hands. So now you're coming toward kind of a funky plank. So you're planked in the upper body from the head to the hips. Drop your chest down into the shoulder girdle. As your ribs come down, keep your low belly lifted to draw the hips long. Then start sitting back like that. Bend your knees a little bit and let your hips drop back. Keep your sides going long by pushing that forward. Shoulder blades come off the back. The neck is long. You're still trying to be pretty much one straight line from hips to head. I know, we're tired. Roll to the outer feet a little bit. Feel that stretch in IT band. Open knees. Inhale. As you exhale, drop your chest a little deeper. Try to start straightening legs. Rolling a little more toward inner foot. Think pubic bone back. Pubic bone back. Inner thigh spiraling back. And then bring your chest back up. One more time. Come forward first. Roll to outer feet here. Start bending the knees a little bit while you're forward. Should feel that stretch in outer lower legs quite a bit. Feel that? Yeah? Drop chest into shoulder girdle. Check in with arms. They should be outer spiral. Biceps facing forward. Hands pulling the mat apart from serratus, from shoulder blades. Then start sitting back like that. Deepening stretch from outer lower leg to knee. Then letting hips go. It should start coming up to outer hips. Breathe. And bring it back forward. Shift your weight in your hands. Come onto your toes. Plankish. And then you can heel toe it in. Good job. Thank you for hearing me. Staying down dog. Fingers spreading. Hips back. Sitting bones apart. Top of the head forward and down. Staying with this outer leg feeling, roll to the outer foot a touch, just a touch. You should not lift toes when you do that, keep toes down. Bend the knees a little bit, even if you can straighten them in your down dog. Sitting bones back and apart. Hands feel like they're shifting the mat forward, not just to push, not just to engage everything, but to drop chest further back toward the thighs, opening your sides. Let your shoulder blades slide up the ribs, head dropping back, ribs trying to come toward thighs. Breathe. Straighten just the right leg a bit. You don't have to go all the way straight, but stay in that outer foot. Drop right hip back. Switch, bend the knee, straighten left leg a bit. Outer hip. One more each side, straighten right leg, roll to outer foot, stretch that outer hip all the way back. Last one. Good, and bring it forward to plank. You can wiggle feet back until you're in one straight line. Lift your ribs up into the shoulder girdle. Firm the quads up, straightening legs up, but hips a little low. Breathe. Bring heels apart, sitting bones apart, suck belly up higher. Breathe. Bring your feet back in. Lift your ribs up higher. Pull the right knee in. Turn it out to the right. Step next to your hands. Good. Wiggle the left foot back a little. Keep the right knee opening away from your ribs. Bring your right shoulder a little forward. Tip over into that right hip stretch a little more. Breathe. If you know you have a deep stretch in the hips, or if you're just tired, you can put the back knee down. And you can come down to elbows. If you're just tired and you don't have a huge stretch, then you're going to need to prop your elbows up on blocks, on bolsters. I don't care if it's on your coffee table. Lean over to the right. Open the right knee more. Right shoulder slides forward, up the side of the rib cage. Tip into the outer foot a little bit to keep the foot controlled. Don't sickle it all the way. And come back up. Hands back to the mat if you were down. Put the back knee down. Now we're going to play with quad. Put the top of the back foot into the mat. Keeping the top foot into the mat. Pick your ribs up a little. Push into the top of the foot so your quad engaged. But keep the hip low. And bring it back down. Now tuck the toes. Same thing. Keep the hip low. Engage quad to pull back. Don't take the weight out of it. Keep the hip dropping and your quad's like, well, I want to bend the knee. This is hard. No. Reach against that. That's your opposition. Hip dropping into a straight leg. And then bring it up and back. Good. One more time. Shin in, top of the head forward, coming forward. Shoulders pull back, bend the front knee halfway, hold. Drop your back heel back a little bit, hold. Drop chest in the shoulder girdle, hold. Start bending elbows back and hug them together, hold. Right here, you're halfway into your posture. Keep pulling shoulders back, top of the head forward, come deeper, come down, come down, come down. Open knee, open hip. And to the back knee down. Good job. And release, or sit back, straighten the front leg a bit. Try to drag the sitting bone back. Okay. You can tap fingers if you need more space. Toe heel your left foot across the mat. You're going to stop when your left foot is behind the left hand and I want the top of the foot to face the hand. Then come forward to bring the knee down. You can pick up your back leg to put the front knee down. So you're in plank on the left side, flatten your hand. This is a hard one for you. Okay, keep the toes tucked and the knee in the air. This is that hip down, quad engaged that we just worked on.
This foot be back.
It can be back. The more the foot comes back, the less the stretch. Eventually there is none anymore in the outer hip. Right? So the more it's forward, the bigger the stretch. Have it forward to the point where you can feel the stretch. Alright? Good. Now I want you to sit back in your back heel, but keep the quad engaged. Then come forward, see if you can roll all the way over the foot. Push down through the foot. Suck the belly up, ribs up. Think of doming the back here. Push into the front knee too, lift it up. Low belly up, get higher. Then roll over your back toe. Roll your left frontal hip into the right groin. And then open it up. One more time, left frontal hip into right groin. And then sit back as far as you can in your stretch. Don't lay down yet. Put your back leg down. I know, don't want to lay down. Okay? And then try to bring your upper body high. Good. Breathe. This hip doesn't have to be on the ground. I'd rather it be square and be in the air than be on the ground right now. So it may still be engaged. Okay. Good. And then let your hip drop down. Bring your elbows down. You can either come to blocks. If you have two blocks, you can put both elbows on blocks. Or you can come to the mat. How are we doing? Okay. Move your ribs and your hips over to the left. Trying to bring the ribs away from that right hip. Stay back a little though, don't go too far forward, especially if you have a tendency to have the hip go past the heel. Okay? And bring it back to the right. 2 more like that, bring your ribs over to the left, deepening the stretch. And bring it back over to the right. One more time, take your ribs over to the left. Bring your right arm across to the left side of the mat. Open your left elbow a little further left. See if you can steer your ribs over that foot. Breathe. If this is too big a stretch, you can still sit into one of the cheerleaders pose like this. Bring your knee forward. And just come down like that. So it's not as deep. And that's a little out from under you. Bring it forward. There you go. Feel the stretch in the hip? Okay, and that's all you need, right? Alright, stay there for 1 or 2 more breaths. Keep trying to bring that right shoulder a little forward, sliding the shoulder blade up the side of the ribs to open out of that hip more, open out of that medial glute more. And come back to the side. Good job, how we doing? Tuck the back toes, drag the knee forward, and then retuck. And so you can just bring the other knee back. Okay, you can start back into your plank or down dog, you can just come straight to the knees. I know, we're almost done. Okay. Right here, go ahead and come back to your down dog if space is an issue for you. Bring your right foot forward to the side of the mat. Oh, I'm sorry, just bring your right foot forward to the outside of the mat. Drop your hip down, but keep the back leg strong. So quad is engaged to straighten leg, but the hip is still dropping into that. That's a tough one for most people. Wiggle that back foot further back. I need that back leg long.
What's your torso? Is it sink or is it?
So keep your ribs a little bit up. It's neither. The rib cage should be floating. The muscles.
When I go like this way, I lose like this. Should I be back further like this?
Yeah.
Doesn't this need to be in front of?
Yeah. Right now, though, what I'm trying to get you to feel is the back leg is still a little cramped up.
Okay.
Right. So I want you to get that quad engaged. That muscle pulls to straighten the leg.
Okay.
But then I want you to keep the quad away from hip flexor. So I want the quad to engage, but the hip to still try to drop. When you start dropping your hip, you want to bend the knee, which helps you disengage the hip flexor, which helps disengage your quad. I'm trying to get you guys to get opposition going in that back leg where your quad stays engaged, but then your hip stretches down into that floor the quad is giving you. You feel that?
Yep.
So that's a lot more open. Feel the difference?
Yep.
So it's a lot more engaged, but it's a bigger stretch too. Okay, now push into the left foot, bring it up. Do you guys feel what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So it's like the quad creates a floor, and then your hip tries to come down deeper into that floor. Okay? All right, here we go. Coming forward. Let's focus on a little bit of the rest of this posture. Come high into your back toes. Really easy to engage quad here. So find it here. Okay? Then start bending left knee as you come forward. Keep the quad. Start dropping the hip. Stop. Bend the left knee a little deeper. Stop. Then drop chest into shoulder girdle. Bend the elbows backwards and toward each other. Pull your shoulders back, top of the head forward. Now engage quad and feel one line of energy, one network of muscle from quad through low belly, psoas, through serratus. Come down deep like that. Keeping that whole thing engaged makes this a lot easier. It's still strength, but it's a lot of stretch. Push your hands and foot, bring it up. How are we doing? We'll just do one more because we've been here for a while. Keep that back leg straight. Feel your quad actually lift up away from the kneecap. Bend the front knee, start dropping hips, but keep quad. Get long in neck, shoulders back away from ears. Bend elbows a little bit, keep that length. Like your whole spine is lengthening through the ribs. Forward, drop down, put the back knee down. Good. You guys feeling that more? Okay, drop over into your left hip. If you still have anything left, you can keep the back leg in here. Left hip open, left shoulder forward. You're purposely trying to slide the left shoulder blade up the side of the ribs and open the hip away. At the same time, keep your right quad strong or put it down. If you want to go deeper, you can bring elbows down to the floor or blocks, keeping back leg in the air or down, and drop left hip open, left shoulder forward. Breathe. One more breath. Keep lifting that low belly out in front of the hip, and put it down. Good, hands come back, drop back, stretch that leg, spread the toes out. Good. So even here, think sitting bones back. You can bend the front knee if you need to. Roll to outer foot, outer leg here to feel the stretch. Good job. One more breath. Come back, forward. Good. Now let's go ahead and slide the foot back. Some 10 fingers if you need the extra space. Heel toe the foot across. Top of the left foot right behind the right hand. Drop the knee forward and down, coming to the mat. And you can flat hands come to plank on the right side. That height should let you square the hips. Right hip down, left hip back. Keep pressing into the top of the left leg. Drop your right heel back without letting the hip open. And then come forward, roll all the way over the toes. That's quad. Pick the quad up, drop the hip down. Roll right hip into left run. Roll it back open, come over your toes, come on back. Do it again. Come forward, roll all the way to the top of the foot. Keep quad engaged, the hip down. Roll right hip even further toward left groin. Roll it back open, roll over the toes, come back to your deepest stretch. Okay, so again on this side, you can sit here, just like that little cheerleader's posture, and just come forward. Knee open a little more. Knee open, knee open. Which one? This knee. Foot in. And come over your shin. Yeah, come stretching the hip. Okay, you could be there. All right. Everybody else, come to elbows either on blocks or on the ground. Okay, make sure hips are square. So you almost want to feel like your groin muscles pull a little toward each other to roll your right hip more forward and down to the mat. At the same time, see if you can engage the quad a little on the back leg. You'll push down into the top of the foot, top of the ankle. Low belly pulling away from quad. That should help you drop the right hip more. Bring your ribs over to the right. Bring your hips to a little bit. Trying to drop that right hip more to the mat. And do a bigger stretch. Go back through. And bring it back. Do it again. Pick up ribs a little out of the hip. Feel left hip heavy. Right hip is about to be heavy. Come over to the right. Trying to roll right hip down to the mat more. You need more room. You can bring your right leg a little to the right. Okay. Come back to the center. Last time. Bring your ribs over to the right. Now walk elbows over to the right. Bring your left arm as far forward and right as you can, trying to spread the shoulder blade up the back of the, or up the side of the rib cage. Breathe. You can put forehead down on that right wrist if you got a big stretch here. 2 more breaths. Try to engage the quad of the right leg a little bit. Think of pushing near the top of the foot, kneecap lifting off the floor, quad. Engage it and feel low belly lift. Come back to the center. Good job. Tuck your back toes, walk the back knee forward, retuck, and step into your plank. Just pedal it out. Hips go back toward down dog now. And how are we doing? All right, step forward, roll it up, grab your blocks at the top of your mat. So if you use blue blocks, now would be the time to use the blue blocks. If not, going back to the cork block, grab your cork blocks and come to the top of the mat.
That's a grunting.
He's just trying to make me feel better.
All right.
Oh, I can't.
So, from here, hands on the blocks. Bring your left foot forward and your right foot about halfway back on your mat. It's a short stance. Heel toe your left foot a little wider so that your heels are at least a few inches apart with kneeing. Okay? Now, shift your hips back. All your weight goes into the right foot. Okay? And go ahead and shift your hips forward, ribs forward. All your weight goes into your left foot. Your right hip will end up dropping forward. Good. Shift your weight back. Your right hip will open. Now notice if your left knee rolls in and your left glute comes out to the left. Don't let that happen. Shift your weight forward. While forward, roll to the outer left foot a little. Keep the toes down. Just roll to the outer foot. Unlock your left knee. Let that left hip draw back further. You should feel a stretch in the outer hip. Right hip dropping forward. You should feel that coming right up to the IT again. What do you feel here?
I don't know what I'm doing with this one. I got my left foot to the outside, to the
Okay.
small toe.
So once you're on the outer arch, the knee bends a little, and the ribs have to open. That's that dome you have to stop doing. There. That's what's killing the stretch here. Now unlock the knee. Don't get to sit into the knee so much. Good. And let that open more. You feel the difference? You have to open your ribs. You have to open and flatten the back. Good. So bring the foot back down and touch. Look out. Yeah. So you keep a lot of tension here, which keeps a lot of tension here. You feel the difference now? Yeah. Good. Okay, so you cannot keep the knee locked. You have to let space happen in the knee joint. As the hip rolls back, you have to let the inner foot start rolling back forward. So these are coming apart from upper to lower leg. It's a really tough concept for a lot of people, and it's a good way to keep your hip really locked and tighten up your IT band. Roll the right hip back again. As you roll the right hip back, stay rolled the outer left foot a little bit, but don't let it all happen from the ankle. Open the knee out to the left. Let your hip open. Okay? And you're going to roll forward. Keep that left hip open and drop right hip forward a little bit, lengthening ribs forward. You can't keep this dome and tightness in the back of the body. You'll never open your hips. You got to let the ribs drop and soften down into shoulder girdle and lengthen forward out of both hips. And as you shift back, your ribs stay forward. Oh, crunch up your left ribs. Then shift forward, ribs go further forward. Pick the ribs up in the shoulder girdle a little, just playing with it. Release your left knee, bend it a touch, just unlock it. And as you drop ribs down, feel that left hip gets to lengthen further back. You guys feel that stretch coming up the left side of the knee, the calf, the knee, all the way up the IT down. If you keep your back tight, you just will never get that stretch, and that will just continue to tighten. Drop your right hip back again. Keep the left knee open even when the right hip goes back. This is why you don't get to bring that left hip to your ear and close up those ribs. So then get your ribs going a little left, even while your right hip is back. Top of the head forward. And now see if you can come down over that leg, keeping the hip open. Don't lock the knee out. Keep the knee open out to the side. Good. Let your back release. Don't tighten that upper back. Got to drop into shoulder girdle more. There we go. And pick it up. Good. You guys feeling that a little bit?
I feel it a lot.
All right. There's that spot, right? Shift the hips forward. Come onto the toes of the back foot. Stay in your outer left foot a little. It's not super sustainable, especially if you're not just sitting to that ankle. That's not it. It's just rolling to the outer foot enough so your knee can open and the hip can open and drop back more. Now, if the ribs stay tight, all you feel is just an overstretch in the tendons in your outer ankle, and that's not it. So you've got to stay in the outer foot a little, but then you know let your hips drop, or your ribs drop, your pelvic will drop, and your sitting bone go back on the left side. Then, so you can start bringing the foot back down without closing the knee and the hip. Then you've got that opposition, inner foot reaching away from outer hip through an open knee. It's odd if you've never done it, but it's the right alignment. Now bring your right leg up. Now drop the right hip down more, keeping your left knee aimed left and your left hip back. Ribs open. Ribs open. Blocks further forward, you don't have any space there. There you go. Now when you roll your right hip up, don't let your left hip come to the ear. Keep low belly lifted out of the hip, and your left hip stays under. It stays back. And then roll your right hip back down. Good, and step it back. Switch feet. Right foot forward, left foot back. So this is almost more coordination than anything. It'll feel like a huge stretch if it's the first time you've ever felt this stretch. But this is a stretch you have to find with your brain. This doesn't just come to you because of the posture, which is true with all of them, but more so with this. But it's an important stretch. This connective tissue, this IT band here is huge. And it's really easy to never, ever stretch it. And keep your knee locked, which protects the hamstring from the stretch, but also keeps this from ever stretching. Upper back is huge too. If you're going to keep your upper back trying to lift you to the ceiling to not have this stretch happen, it won't happen. All right, here we go. Shift to the left foot. Left hip should roll back. Now your right hip doesn't get to come to your ear. See how my right ribs all collapse together and accordion together. You have to keep that open here. Keep the shoulder forward a little, keep the ribs forward, top of the head forward. Now when you shift your weight forward into the right foot, you should automatically feel the left hip drop forward. All that's going to happen is wagging side to side. If your ribs stay locked, your back stays locked here and creates a wall. The whole rib cage has to soften forward. Okay? Now unlock your right knee. Roll to the outer foot a little bit. Make that happen by knee opening. Hip opening and rolling back further. Let your left hip drop forward. Keep your ribs long. Don't pick the ribs up when you do this. You won't feel the stretch. You should feel the stretch come all the way up the outer lower leg, through the outer knee, through the IT band, up the hip. That's the stretch you're looking for here. Keep dropping your left foot forward. You got it. It's good. You are killing it on your homework. Lift your right low belly just a little bit out of the front of that hip. Then you can drop the right hip back further. Now bend the knee a little wider. Guys feeling that? Now outside. It's a different spot. It's hard to get to. Even in pigeon people keep that locked. Okay, go ahead and roll it back, but keep the right knee open a little. So your right sitting bone is still open. Your femur is coming away from tailbone. Lots of little muscles connecting those in and keeping them tight. Don't let hip and ribs come together. And then shift forward. Right hip going back, left hip forward. This is hard for you to do. Shorten your stance, or most likely you need to be up higher. Blocks higher. Maybe you need the big blue blocks or a coffee table or whatever. Okay, go ahead, shift it back. Don't let that right hip come to here. Keep the ribs open. So even back here, you can really stretch that IT band if you know how to pull your right hip back. Most of your right hip goes back and left, and then ribs go forward, that's long. Then shift forward, deepening that stretch. You guys feeling it? Okay. Keep the stretch as you shift back. It's not that easy to do. Everybody wants to put that hip to the ear. Keep the stretch as you shift forward. The ability to make the stretch happen is what makes your triangle either very right or very wrong, your triangle pose. Okay? Now stay forward, keep the right hip pulling back. See if you can start flattening inner foot back to the mat, keep the knee unlocked, and you should feel as right hip pulls back and inner foot pulls down, there is an opening in your knee joint. It has to have space in it. If you don't let the knee have space, this won't work, which is why if you lock the knee really hard, you just won't get the stretch under. Shift your weight forward onto the foot without locking the knee. Pick up the left leg to keep the hip low. Hip should be low right now. That's where it just was. Okay, see if you can lift your low belly and open the hip without letting the right hip come to your ear. Keep the hip under you. Keep the hip back. Keep your left leg more left. Don't let the left leg cross your center line or your right hip's definitely coming to your ear. Keep your left leg up. Roll your left hip down again. It's easier to pull the right hip back when the left leg's down. Good. And bring your foot to the floor. Good. Bring it back. You guys feeling that a little bit?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? How the knee has to open? Dorothy, you feeling that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was talking about, that IT down that outer hip. Well, we can play for a little more after class. All right. So you guys can lay down now. Put a block at the top of the mat. Then your red ball. Do some upper back bending, neck opening, chest opening. And then your bolster is going to go under your knees. Bring your little 2-pound purple balls and your max strength TheraBand next to you. See if we have time to use those. All right, so lining this up. If you're at home, the red ball is just an 8-inch diameter ball, so maybe a soccer ball or a volleyball or whatever. Deflate it a little bit so it doesn't shock your spine when you lay on it. Okay? We're going to start seriously. When you come back and say, I used a volleyball. It didn't feel the same. These are a little squishy. Okay. It feels better than a block. You can use a block, but that's really a shock to the spine. You put the block long way, your shoulder blades can come back and close around the block a little bit, but it's just not fun. And you definitely can't roll up on it because those corners hurt. So a ball is round, which is nice because the spine can round around it. So to line it up, start with the ball right up against your lumbar spine. And by no means want it to stay there when you roll back. That's not what we're trying to arc. Then you roll it about a half roll back, which depending on the length of your spine and your height should clear your lumbar spine. Then you put your floating ribs on it. The lowest vertebrae should be in the air. They should not be on the ball, but the floating ribs, the lowest ribs should be on the ball. Okay? Bring the bolster up near your hips, but don't touch your hips. Bring your tailbone under you a little, so that lumbar spine is now even a little rounded, definitely flat, and then legs over the bolster. Your block. Nobody places the block right when they start doing this. Bring your hands to where the block meets the floor. That's the part of the block you want to move. Everybody wants to pick the block up and start aiming the block down in weird places. The bottom of the block is what you want to move. That should be settled so that the block comes straight up to about the hairline. And you can drop your chin down. Neck gets really long, like your chin is dropping down while the top of the head is getting pushed up and forward. That's where the neck stretch comes in. That's where it starts to feel good. Okay? Grab your purple balls in your hands. One in each hand. Alright, and just start with hands out to the sides. Your elbows have to be able to touch the ground. If they can't, either because your shoulders are tight or your arms are shorter or whatever, put blocks under the elbows. Elbows have to touch a surface, right? If you have blocks under the elbows, you need something under your hands too. Okay? If you don't need blocks, the elbow touches the ground, the entire forearm touches the ground, the back of the hand touches the ground. And you start your breath. Inhale, chin down, shoulders rolling back into that space between red ball and block. The chin down is what gives you the neck long. As you exhale, start softening your ribs into your block. Let more of your spine wrap around the block. Roll your shoulders forward a little bit. Let the shoulders drop back, ribs open, but low back does not clench. You don't arch your low back here. You actually keep your low belly drawn so your tail is under a little. So you've got an upper back bend with the low back rounded. If you feel your low back, sit on the block, raise the hips, lessen the arc in the spine. Inhale here. Letting ribs open, chest rise, then exhale, ribs drop a little, shoulders roll forward. Now release your hips. They have to roll forward a little. Keep them forward. ribs to drop, keep the bump goes forward. Inhale and roll shoulders back, ribs lift. Now you pull pubic bone to your face, tailbone under a little, low belly pulls. Go the other way, shoulders roll forward, ribs start to drop heavy into your ball. Then you have to unclench hips, let your pubic bone go forward. So low body and upper body are going in different directions at all times. Right now you're essentially trying to round your upper back, pushing ribs into the ball. You cannot also round low back, that's a tough, you have to let hips go forward. Roll shoulders back, ribs open. Then you're arching upper back, so you gotta round low back, low belly draws. Tailbone under. Good. All right, let's go ahead and lift your hands off the ground about an inch, reaching straight out to the sides, straight out to the sides, straight out. Spread your shoulder blades off your back. Low belly has to be pulled under, or you're gonna feel your low back. Bring your arms straight up, slow, slow, slow. You should end up with the balls right above your forehead. Let your shoulder blades drop down even more. Keep your shoulders slid up the spine toward the ears, toward the jawline, then let them drop down. On the uppermost part of the shoulder blades, to be able to hang down away from the cervical spine. Chin really down, you're pushing the back of the head. You're pushing the lower part of the head into the block, the corner of the block. Dropping the chin down, top of the head up. Breathe. As you exhale, let your arms drop back. You're going to spiral the arms so biceps face the floor, elbows face the ceiling a little. Let the ribs open, reach through thumb side of the hand, shoulder blades slide up the side of the ribs, pull your ribs down into your ball a little bit. Inner spiral your legs so your knees face the ceiling. Flex your quads to lift the lower leg up, it just pops the feet right up. Okay, keeping quads flexed, pull your ribs down to pick your hips up, spine gets flat, hips are in the air. Ribs in, everybody ribs in, maybe the balls are too heavy, but pick your hands up. Now release your glutes, hips will drop a little, but keep ribs in. Keeping glutes released, find quads, reach through your toes, fan them out. Now bring the balls back up to the ceiling. Spread your shoulder blades off the back. Shoulder blades spreading wide, so raise engage, shoulder blades come around the side of the ribs, release your glutes. Let your feet come back down, knees open. Low belly draws, let your hips come back down. Good, bring the balls forward, keep shoulder blades spread. Bring the head up. Let the weight of the balls help you drop the balls to bring that up. Good. Okay, slide your shoulder blades back. They should be free to move. And then slide shoulder blades forward. That's not the whole upper body movement. Slide shoulder blades back. Rest into your ball. Slide shoulder blades forward. You're still resting into your ball. You're actually pulling the core back into the ball. Good. Now slide shoulder blades halfway back. Hold. Turn until palms face the ceiling. Elbows or arms come out to the side. Bend your elbows toward the mat. Feel your shoulder blades squeeze onto the top of the ball. Chin in. As shoulder blades squeeze down, you should be able to lengthen your head up longer. Good job. And go ahead and lay back over your ball. Elbows to the ground, forearms to the ground, release it back. Get rid of one ball, bring the other ball to the ceiling. Hands on the ball. Base of the hand grips up into the ball. Hands or ball right above your forehead. Bless you. You should not be able to see your face in the ceiling mirrors. The ball should be blocking the view. Drop your shoulders down, chin down, get that neck long feeling here. Now draw your low belly so your tailbone is under. Maybe pick up hips, put the tailbone under, then put it back down. Slowly drop the arms back, keeping shoulders dropped. Put a baby bend in elbows. Stretching the shoulders as you drop the arms back. Let your ribs open. When your ribs open, you do not rock forward on the tailbone and flex your low back. That will hurt it. You rock the other way. Tailbone goes under, low belly drawing out of the front of the hips. Keeping low belly. Use your serratus underneath the arms to pull up. It should get lighter underneath arms. If you do not get this concept, get rid of the weight. You don't need the ball in your hands. When the ball is above your forehead, spread your shoulder blades off the back. Sternum gets heavy into the ball. Hips don't help with this. All your action is from ribs up. Then outer spiral arms so biceps face your face. Keep reaching up through thumbs till you feel your collarbone start to fold in half, the chest engaging. Then drop the arms forward. Arms should come down until your upper arms squish your own chest or pecs. Then let your hips release. They're not supposed to be helping. Then bring your head up. Your pivot point is right where the ribs touch the red ball. Right. Slide shoulders back an inch. Make this a little range of motion. We're just trying to separate body parts. Let your hips release forward. Low belly draws. And slide the shoulders forward. Keep the ribs back into the red ball. Good. Now try to roll your ball to the right with your ribs. Bring your ball, purple ball to the left. No, sorry. the left. I want your left ribs to open. And bring your purple ball to the right. So what I don't want to see is hip and ribs coming together. I don't care which side you go to, just make sure the ribs are open. Roll that left shoulder up. Come back to the middle. Roll your red ball to the right. Bring your purple ball to the left. Bring your right shoulder up from the chest. Collarbone coming up the jawline. Let your right hip release forward. Lay back over your red ball into the chest. Come back to the middle. Roll your red ball to the left. Good. Arms go right. Don't let that hip engage. Keep the ribs long. Lay back over the ball a little. Feel the middle out. Come back to the side. Good. Bring your shoulders up. Bring the ball up. Get rid of the ball. Done. One hand under the head to support it. The other hand takes the block out of your way. Both hands under your head now. Push your bolster forward about 6 inches. And then hop your hips forward about 3 to 6 inches. Legs over the bolster again. Hands under your head again.
So ball further up your back here.
Yeah, so the ball rolled up the spine toward the neck, not all the way, but 3 inches. Few vertebrae. Now when you pull your shoulder blades down the back, you should feel them stab right into the top of your red ball. And I want you to feel that. Hands under your head. Hands pull the top of the head forward, so the crown of the head is trying to aim at where the wall meets the ceiling in front of you. The chin is trying to drop back through the back of the neck to where the wall meets the ceiling behind you, so your neck is getting really long that way. Keep that opposition of chin back with top of the head forward. That should send neck back and long. Then feel your serratus, pull your shoulder blades a little forward, but then down into the ball. So the forward is shoulder blades next to ribs, the down is shoulder blades coming to a V. The point, the apex is stabbing into the ball. The more you do that, the more you can push top of the head forward, chin drops back, the more neck stretch you get. And notice if your hips decided to come and help, they're not actually helping, they're getting in your way really easily. The pubic bone stays forward through all of this, it does not tuck toward you. Now, you're going to try to drop back over the ball. Everybody wants to release the opposition we have in neck and serratus. Don't. Serratus are still forward, neck is back. The ribs open to let you drop back. Shoulder blades stay stabbing in your red ball. Ribs come out of hips. This is part of why you need a softer ball. Don't lift your chin to the ceiling, that is not it. Keep the chin in. Neck is long, it's parallel to the ground. To come up, your serratus stab, shoulder blades down into the red ball. That's a forward and down. And then hands pull head up, you don't close ribs yet. Once you feel your big neck stretch, then you start letting the floating ribs drop down and the back opens. Upper back opens as ribs drop back. You can't tuck hips so the back won't open. Keep top of the head going forward, serratus going forward. Let your back open like you're pushing the ball away with your upper back. Keep the hips forward. And then release the chin and the ball. Good. Push your bolster further forward. How we doing? Put on this stuff. Nothing in your low back. You should not feel low back. Okay. Keep your feet all the way to the edges of your bolster. Hips come forward again. Now your ball is pretty high up. It's basically supporting your thoracic spine, so your head being forward is just a matter of very softly pulling the top of the head forward, chin back. Okay? From here, make sure your bolster is far enough away so that you've got about a leg's length. We're going to drop the knee across. I want it to reach the bolster. Don't put the bolster too far. Okay, you're going to bring left elbow to the mat. Hand is in near you, so the forearm is parallel to the mat. Slide your elbow out to the left. Bring your ribs with it. I want your left ribs to come toward the mat. Okay, bring your right hand a little further under the head so the fingers wrap around the left side of the head and your forearm is into the head. Everybody always wants to turn the way they're going. Don't. Turn back to the middle. Your ribs go left. Your head's in the middle. Your hand is even pulling your head back to the right. Right shoulder blade is down. Lift outer arch of your left foot. Drop the left knee and hip forward across to the right. Your knee should be able to reach your bolster. If your bolster's too far, it doesn't have to come down, but I'm assuming it should be able to reach. That's the length you want. Okay? Keeping ribs left. You're going to drop back over the ball. Your head should be right in the middle. Let the hip reach further forward now. Hip takes the knee forward. There we go. You should feel that stretch in your psoas, between the hip and the pelvis, or between the hip and the ribs, and in the front of the hip. Okay, now we're going to deepen it by letting your ribs drop down without the hip coming too. To do that, right serratus, pull the shoulder blade forward, away from your ear. That puts pressure from forearm into the top of the head. Let that bring your head forward, putting weight right on top of ribs. Let your ribs drop down. Upper back rounds down into the mat. Keeping the hip forward. Those are going apart. Nice roll up. Breathe. You need to bring your right foot to the floor and keep that right knee in a little. That may help. All right, bring the right foot back. Bring the knee up. Side two. Right elbow to the mat. Slide out to the right. Ribs go right. Left forearm is under the head. Left shoulder blade is down the body into the ball. Bring the right outer foot up. Drop the right knee across toward the mat. Lay back over your ball, right in the middle. Let your hip reach further forward here. This is where it's easy to open the hip more. Where your ribs get to be up, it's easier to open the hips more linear. You can bring left foot to the ground if you feel like it's easier to keep the knee cool. Then use your left serratus, pull the shoulder down, bring the head up right in the middle, and let your ribs drop into the mat, keeping the hip forward. Breathe. Just feel that in the stars, for the hip. Letting the hip release forward. Release your right glute. You don't need to squeeze your butt here. No glute squeeze. And roll it back up. Okay, come to the middle. Roll forward on the ball until the ball is just under head and neck. And it is very decidedly making your eyes aim forward. You cannot look at the ceiling mirrors anymore. You have to really crane the neck to do it. That's that top of the head forward with chin back. Legs over the bolster, arms up to the ceiling. Let your shoulders drop down. Bring your hands over your forehead so they're right up. You can't see your hands. Let that upper part of your shoulder drop down. It will feel like your shoulders are coming up toward the ears a little. That's okay. That would be released. Ribs are bigger at the floating ribs than up here. So if you're really letting gravity do its thing, the shoulders will drop down to the mat and also a little to the ears. Then palms facing in, drop your arms back. You should feel a pretty good neck stretch there. Arms drop all the way back. Take your arms backwards. To the mat behind you, Kara. Take your arms back. This way. There you go. Chin in. Good. Keep the back of the neck softly pushing into your red ball, chin down. Let your ribs open off the mat, low belly sinking. 3. Exhale on the knee. One more breath, chin back, neck long. Ribs open. Exhale, sink the low belly. Good. Shoulder blades pull down away from ears. Elbows can bend a little. Bring your arms up from underneath, from under the armpit, from the serratus. Good. Bring your bolster up to your hips. Pick up the hips. Put the bolster under the hips. I'm just going to do one happy baby here to finish. Bring your arms up. Knees come in one at a time. Arms inside the legs. And depending on your flexibility, either take hands under the heels. That will be a deeper stretch. Or take hands to the top of the feet, regular happy baby hold. Okay, we're going to go hands under the heels for most. Drop the right leg forward, right arm back behind you. Drop the right arm back the same way though. Bring the hand to the ceiling. Let that shoulder blade drop to the mat. And when you drop the arm back, the palm faces in, the elbow is soft, and the serratus needs to open. Keep your left foot up and turn a little out. Open the knee. Reach the right hip forward. You can use quad to straighten the leg a little bit, which just lifts lower leg up and puts more weight into the stretch. Then, use the whole leg as one piece. Drop the hip further forward. Keep the quad engaged. Breathe. Bring your right arm back up from underneath, from serratus. Feel ribs drop into the mat. Uncrush your left ribs if you have them crushed. Keep a little bit of right quad just to keep the leg straight, but then let low belly sink. And switch. Bring the right leg in. And left leg drops forward. Left arm straight up. Let that shoulder blade drop into the mat. And then drop the arm back as the leg reaches forward. Now a lot of people start this with the knee really high in the air, quad disengaged. If you engage the quad, it'll raise the leg up. Then you've got all the weight of the leg, let the whole hip release without disengaging the quad. That's a hard concept for most people. Keep right elbow bent, tip right more. Tip right more. Get that right elbow to bend. Get that hip to open. Now reach the other hip away. Keep the quad. Breathe. Using serratus from under the left shoulder blade, start bringing that arm up. When the arm is up, let your ribs drop deeper. Keep the quad, lengthening the leg forward. Breathe. And bring it back in. Good. Get rid of your red ball, it should feel good to lay flat. Good. If you have a plow practice and you want to take plow here, you can push into your bolster, bring legs overhead. Work your shoulder blades under you. Bringing one leg up, opening the hip. Don't have a plow practice, either take a soft twist or go straight into your corpse pose. You do have a plow switch, open the other hip, close the hip, bring it back. And then slowly roll down. Okay, let's meet with the bolster just under the tip of your tailbone. So push the bolster down to the tip of the tailbone, bring the legs in, open, hold on to each knee with knees wide, feet are aimed in. So to practice that, reach inside your legs, hold your ankles, the tops of the ankles, pull the feet in while you push the knees out. That's the rotation in the hips I want. Okay, now hold on to the knees, keeping that rotation in the hips. Now let the right leg drop forward, left leg open, left elbow open. Low belly sinks across, left ribs open, let that right foot hang out to the right. Sorry about that. Take a breath here. Exhaling long and soft. One more breath. And then you're going to switch by pulling that right leg back in with the strength of the arm. Let your left leg go out to the left. The foot dangles. That weight of your lower leg creates a soft internal rotation. You're going to keep the right elbow open, right shoulder blade wide, right ribs opening, and feel your low belly sink out of the hip. Breathe. Ribs are heavy. Don't let them spike up to the ceiling. Shoulder blade is getting pulled off the back. And bring it back. Okay, push your bolster all the way down to calves. Calves over the bolster. If you feel like you haven't enough twisting or anything else you want, you can take it here. Otherwise, let's go into your corpse, but first arms up, palms face in. Same thing as before. Let the shoulders drop all the way up by your face. So that upper part of the shoulder blade gets to drop into the mat too. Chin down, neck long. And then slowly lower the arms back. Feel your serratus slowing the fall, but keep the tops of the shoulders released. They don't grip. Hands end up about an inch off the floor. Let your ribs open up as you inhale. Chin down, neck long into the mat. Feel low belly sink. Hold. Keep sinking low belly. That should make your pelvic roll drop down toward the floor. And then exhale, let everything go. One more time like that. Use a little bit of serratus to lift the shoulder, lift the arms from under the shoulder, from the next to the ribs. Chin down, neck long, ribs open, inhale. Low belly sinks out of the front of the hips. And then exhale, let it go. Set up for your final resting pose. If you want to bring the palms facing the ceiling and arms out to the side, you can do that. More traditional. If you want to leave arms overhead and you're happy to do that. Take one long, soft inhale. Let the ribs open, dropping chin a little. Shoulders roll back. Hold that air in. Tails a little under, low belly sinking, no glute squeeze. And then as you let the air leak out, feel your ribs drop heavier into the ground. Really softly roll shoulders forward for a second. Let the hips release, pubic bone forward. One more like that. Inhale, fill the ribs. Hold the air in. And then exhale, slowly releasing. Release the head, neck, facial muscles. Let your eyes roll into the back of the head in the middle of the forehead where the third eye is. Try to feel that help you spread the muscles in the brow, the forehead, bridge the nose. Jaw releasing. Try to feel it spreading across the base of the tongue and the base of the skull between the ears. Let everything go. Release the airflow out unrestricted. Try not to tense anything when you inhale, stay soft. When you exhale, there's a natural pull inside the ribs, emptying the lungs. Let that happen, but nothing else. One more breath like that. The bottom of your next exhale, try to spread the fingers and the hands, really open palms, spread the toes, try to fan them out, reach the quads a little longer, legs lower. Inhale, arms up, palms face the ceiling as you reach back, chin down, ribs open. Let your low belly sink and stretch. As you exhale, close hands into fists, inner spiral legs, so knees roll in, turn feet in, toes touch. Inhale, open it all up. Exhale, roll it all in. Inhale, open it all up. As you exhale, let everything go. Soft. Good job. Take your time, making your way back to sitting however you want. You guys are all set. Keep your own next time. Questions, comments, issues, complaints?